Lady Braven of the Pride, and I am passionate about inspiring, encouraging, and empowering people to be brave. I am also the producer and the publisher of the Brave Book series, and this is my new video series. So please like and subscribe and share with your friends because, as we all know, courage is contagious. And today I have a very special guest that I would like to have a conversation with about his chapter in the first book, The Brave, Courage During COVID. This book came out last year, and Brian was the contributor for one of the chapters. And I would love everybody to welcome Brian onto the video. And Brian, would you care to introduce yourself, please?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Lanny. I'm humbled and honored to be asked back, as one of the contributors for the original Brave, like we were just chatting about almost a year ago. And so my name is Brian Paul, and I live in Maple Ridge, BC, a father of two, 11 and 13-year-old boys. And I run an e-bike and scooter business here in Maple Ridge. And yeah, that's me in a nutshell.
Great. Thank you. Yeah, it's been a year already since the first book came out. And oh my goodness, there's so much that's happened since then. I've published 2 more books after that. And coming in another couple of weeks, I'm going to be starting on the 4th book in the series, which is called The Brave, Manifesting New Earth.
Wow.
Meant to activate the crown chakra. But this first book, The Brave, Courage During COVID, I'm very proud of this book, and I love all of the freedom fighters and the passionate voices that I brought together in this book. It's called Courage During COVID because these are the people and these are the stories of people all across the country that have been standing up to government corruption and medical fraud. And these are the freedom fighters and the truth seekers and the ones that were courageous enough to stand up and say, this is not right. This is Brian right here. Brian shared chapter number 9 in this book. By the way, this book is green because it's meant to activate the heart chakra. Courage comes from the heart. Whenever we're acting in something, defense of something that we love, that is a courageous act. And you shared your courageous story, chapter number 9. It's called The Courage to Rise Up. And I'm just going to read off the first paragraph here. I don't want to read too much of it because I still want people to buy this book.
Of course.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about the chapter, but I don't want to give it all away. And I just noticed that you also signed this chapter for me. Thank you very much.
Much love.
Okay, so this is the first paragraph of the 9th chapter of the book. It's called Courage to Rise Up. In the book, Brian used the pseudonym Paul Allen, but he is now using Brian Paul. I think Allen, you said, was your middle name?
Yeah, it's my second family name, and I used it as a pseudonym for writing when I wrote in university, and it was just I kind of picked it, and yeah, so now I just go by my first 2 names, Brian Paul.
Brian Paul. Okay, in the book, it's by Paul Allen. So I contemplated whether to publish my story or not for many reasons. And my decision to share my journey this past year ultimately came down to one thing: to inspire others. My hope is that my passage encourages someone to speak out, take action, and positively change the course of their life or the world for the better. I want to show people that anything is possible with hard work, love, community, faith in God, and the universe. Oh my God, what a beginning to a chapter. That is really powerful. And what I want to ask you is, how did you find the courage? You said here in the beginning, you contemplated whether or not that you wanted to share this story, but how did you find the courage to speak up and why?
Well, thank you, Lenny, for taking me back there. When we look at some of the things we've wrote or said, we look at them at a later point off, I often find we've already evolved, right? We've already, changed or ascended into a new direction or a new version of us. But when you read that, I'm still very much in that space of that mindset. And yeah, it brings me back to December 5th. So in the book as well, I note December 5th, I was faced with a big decision whether to speak at a rally or to be disciplined by my current employer, which was the largest automotive parts manufacturer in North America, which was at the time Napa Auto Parts. So I was encouraged not to do it. And ultimately, that was the beginning of my journey to stand up, where I had been speaking at rallies and stuff and participating, but this was a real crossroad. This was like, well, you can bow down and kneel down and continue, to have this job and have this lifestyle, or you can do the right thing. So ultimately, it came down to my children. I thought if I didn't stand up and I didn't speak out, that I would regret it. And so I chose that over the fear of losing the job and, losing everything. So that was the driver, was, the fear of not doing something. I'm not sure I could have lived with myself if I didn't.
Right. And so much has happened over the past year. So you found the courage to share your story in the hopes that it would make a difference for other people who resonated with your experience. And without giving too much of the chapter away, what were you standing up to at the time?
Oh man, I was standing up for my children, wearing masks in school. My children have not worn a mask in 2 years in school, and so I had to fight for that. And me and their mom fought for that, and so that was a big success in standing up for that. They are still, healthy and well, and they are not. They have not taken this inoculation as well. So fighting for them, that was the biggest thing. So yeah.
Yeah, and that takes courage. There's so many people out there that didn't have the courage to even stand up for their own children. So thank you very much for doing that, and for being an example of courage and bravery in a very difficult and challenging time. Over the past year, how have you seen other people stand up and be brave? Have you seen like more of an awakening in the past year? What is your perspective of what's been happening in the movement?
Well, yeah, that's a great question. Over the last year, I've decided to contribute in different ways. With this new e-bike shop that I've started in Maple Ridge, it prevents me from going to certain events on Saturdays. I have to be at the shop, and as I'm currently a one-man show. But over the last year, my place in the movement has evolved, where even at my shop, I have conversations with people every day. So I've never worn a mask in my shop in the 3 months that I've been open, 3-4 months now at this location. And I aim to have conversations. I have affirmations I say to myself in the morning, where I want to try to bring joy to the world and try to make a difference. And I do that through conversations. And so whether it's speaking at rallies or having a conversation with somebody who's shopping for an e-bike, or a cashier in Save On Foods, I really aim to have conversations every day that hopefully try to emanate what I wrote in the book. As far as making a difference every day.
Right. And as we go along through the spring and the summer here, I mean, it's really nice that a lot of the mandates here in BC have been lifted, or the vaccine mandate is soon to be lifted in a few weeks, but the mask mandate has been lifted. And I would really like to hope that people are starting to find their own courage. They're starting to find their own confidence, and they're starting to learn what it means to stand up for themselves and stand up for the people that they love. What do you think is going to happen in the fall? What can you foresee happening now that we've all been through this great, this almost experiment, a social
Yeah.
experiment of what's been happening, and now that those mandates are starting to be lifted and removed, what do you think will happen if they come back? do you think that people are going to be brave?
Wow, that's definitely a loaded question for sure, because I think there's so many different things that could happen in the next few months and in the fall. I don't think this is over by any stretch. I think that we are in the middle of a spiritual war between good and evil, and that's how I felt for some time. Where do I think we're heading? Well, I think we're finding more common ground, right? As we've seen with the freedom movement, there's been a number of different groups and a number of different, ideas on what's going to get us to the finish line. And I think now more than ever, people are just unifying on this common ground. So how I kind of get to that is I ask questions to people, right? People go, well, this is the way this is. And I go, well, is it? Or do we really have to do that? Or, proposing curious questions is something I do regularly. And so I think from that, I have discovered there is an awakening. There is a mass amount of people that are even, have even decided to take the inoculation. And they're now going, wait a sec, there's something going on here.
Mhm.
So I find there's more and more people from all walks of life that are aligning and unifying on the single fundamental belief of freedom of choice, freedom of bodily autonomy, freedom of movement, freedom of expression, freedom of speech, right? And I've thought this for the last couple of years, and I think really we have to just align on that very single thing. Let's not all get in the weeds as to what we think about this or what we think about that, or fighting about differences in opinion. It's like, let's just all align on freedom. So what I think is coming in the fall is, I think that what we've seen from our governments in Canada and the progression of these mandates, these lockdowns, is a transition into a proposed digital ID system, which is being socialized already in the federal government. It's being socialized as a basic income / digital recognition system for people in Canada. So I think that's where we're heading, and I think more and more people are not okay with that. So I think more and more people are going to rise up and have the courage to speak out now and say, hey, no, I'm not good with that. I don't want this. So that's my hope and my feelings anyway on that.
Oh, I share that hope and those feelings as well, 100%. And I really do believe that at this particular time, with everything going on in the world, courage is the most important virtue, because without that courage to stand up for all of the other things that you believe and all of the things that you value in this life, there is no other virtue. Um, so courage is probably one of the most important things that we can learn how to develop. And developing a courageous mindset, it is all about resonating with stories like yours and chapters like yours. So that's why I highly recommend that people read the book. It's full of all stories of freedom fighters and people who stood up and made a difference, not only for themselves in their lives, but for the people that they love and for our collective freedom. So this was book number one. Just want to touch up on this was the book number two, Speaking Truth to Power. Speaking Truth to Power is meant to activate your throat chakra. It's self-expression and using your voice, speaking out. So all of these stories are of some of the loudest voices across the country that are holding those people in positions of power accountable for their crimes and their fraud and their corruption.
Mhm.
Yeah, so these are very powerful stories, and these are good for people who want to stand up and say something and speak out, but they don't know how and they haven't found their voice yet. So um, powerful stories as well. And this third book that just came out, The Brave: Ascending Human Consciousness. This is meant to activate your pineal gland, your awareness, elevate your consciousness and elevate your vibration with empowering you with new information and just opening your eyes to what's going on the big picture on the planet. So I've always said that the greatest difference that we can make in a spiritual warfare, the greatest difference that any of us can make individually, is to always go within and do our own work. And that's what ascending consciousness is all about. Um,
Awesome. So
Yeah.
awesome. And I got to tell you, Lenny, I got to tell you, one of the biggest takeaways, like I would definitely encourage picking up this book, picking up all three. But the first book for me, I wondered what my experience would be, reading my own words in print. But the biggest, most rewarding takeaway for me was reading everyone else's stories. That literally was like, it blew me away how much alignment there was in different stories, in different walks of life, and different people, but very similar as to why they chose to speak up and when they chose to stand up. So thank you for that, because I got to read all those wonderful stories in the book as well.
Oh, I love it. And you're very welcome. I feel like every one of the books has 20 authors, and what I've done is I've brought all of these like-minded people together. I really feel like it's Soul Tribe, right?
Yeah,
So all of the authors have become a part of my extended family, and I consider them like family, like Soul Tribe.
exactly.
One thing that I didn't mention to you yet, but is upcoming, is that I have decided that I am going to turn all three of the books into an audiobook as well. Um,
Wow.
yeah, so this is a new venture for me as well, and we'll see how it goes. But I would really like to sell the physical books, and I'll tell you why. When you have this book in your hand, this cannot be censored. It can't be taken away from you. And this becomes a true part of our Canadian history. This is what really went down. These are true stories written by a wide perspective, many different perspectives. And I can imagine, even 10 years from now, these books being in schools and being used as case studies as to what actually went on. Because you know that the mainstream media isn't going to be sharing any of that information. These true counter narrative stories are going to be a part of our history. And thank you for being a part of that. But I
Thank
also
you.
realized that there's a lot of people, even though I would like to get a book in everybody's hand, there's a lot of people who don't read that much, and they prefer to read while they're driving or to listen to an audiobook. So because of that, I've decided to make all three books into an audiobook.
Yay, that's
Yeah,
exciting.
yeah. And maybe I'll sell the physical book, and then you'll get the audiobook for like $10 more or something. I'm not sure.
Very cool.
But
That's exciting.
yeah. Yeah. So that's the book series, and you can find out more information about all three of the books. There is a discount right now if you buy all three of them on my website at Lady Braven of the Pride, www.ladybraven of the Pride. And all of the information is there for you if you're interested in getting the books. And Brian, if anybody wants to contact you and they want to find out more information about you and your chapter or your business and your e-bikes, where can they contact you?
Well, for anything movement related, I'm still in the Book of Faces. I call it under Brian Paul. I'm also on Instagram on West Coast Freedom. And then as well, if you're interested in an e-bike or any kind of micromobility, e-bike or scooter or anything of that nature, you can find me at Voltaire Sports. So that is my company, Voltaire Sports, and Voltaire e-bikes, as well as Voltaire scooters, can be found on TikTok, Instagram, and the Book of Faces. I'm in Maple Ridge, BC. So I'm right downtown Maple Ridge. Anyone can come down and see me as well from Tuesday to Saturday, 10 to 6, and we'll find the right e-bike and scooter for you.
Excellent. Yeah, and I'll have all of that information in the description of this video. So
Very cool.
thank you very much for talking about your chapter in the book, The Brave Courage During COVID. And thank you. It's great to see you. And we'll have to have a reunion. Maybe I'm thinking about a Brave reunion with all of the authors and anybody that is interested in the book. I think that it'll be a lot of fun.
That would be very cool. I'd be interested in that. And thank you so much for taking the time to speak with little old me today. I'm humbled and honored, and thank you so much for doing this, Lanny. You are definitely doing God's work here when it comes to sharing and bringing all these stories to light and sharing them with others, so others can have a different perspective on what's been going on the last few years. So thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. And for everyone else, For more information, check out my website, Lady Brave and of Pride, and please do like this video and subscribe, share with your friends, because courage is contagious. Bye for now.